Hello, everybody. Welcome back to episode 13 of the CheckX series. If you're new here, CheckX, as I say every day, is basically a series where I talk about and track what Elon's posted on X. And today we're going to talk about what Elon posted on X yesterday, on Wednesday, December 10th. And once again, we have hit the triple digits. With a count of 115 posts from Elon yesterday on Wednesday. Halfway through the week here. Still waiting for the weekend anyway. We're pretty much going to get right into this. But again, I think about 45 of those. A lot of the things were actually slightly more spread out, especially around his companies. And those talk, there's still a bunch, politics is still overtaking, but for example, SpaceX today, we're going to have about 19 or 20 posts on SpaceX, and speaking of which, that's what we're going to start off with today. So starting off, we're going to talk about SpaceX, Starlink, and space technology in general. Starting off with the SpaceX IPO confirmation, Elon confirmed the accuracy of a statement claiming that SpaceX is going public soon. The whisper timeline for the IPO is seen as occurring in the spring. And also, Elon concluded that a radical improvement in rocket technology was necessary to enable life to become multiplanetary, requiring the creation of a new company, since success wasn't possible for existing rocket companies. And in terms of cost of rockets, he also mentioned crunching the cost to manufacture a rocket in 2002 and realizing SpaceX could do it for 1/50th of the cost, calling it the most productive use of a spreadsheet on a plane ride ever. And also, in terms of like data centers in space, which we've talked about this a lot in the last couple episodes, he commented that fools are determined to be fools when responding to confident commentary that data centers in space do not work. And also, he highlighted that the lowest cost way to do AI compute will involve in solar powered satellites. And in terms of AI satellite design, adding on to that, he stated that the Starlink version 3 or V3 will be 20 kilowatts and launched at scale around Q4 of next year. And he also noted that scaling to over 100 kilowatts is no problem if satellite mass is shifted towards solar arrays and radiators for AI compute instead of large antennas for internet connectivity. And he also mentioned that 150 kilowatts is also fine for power. And in terms of AI satellite difficulty, he remarked that an AI satellite is easier, not harder, than the Starlink version 3 design or V3 design. And at least I'm assuming what V3 means. That I apologize if I'm wrong on that. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, of course. But moving on, in terms of experience and satellites, he emphasized that SpaceX has significantly more satellites in orbit than the rest of the world combined, suggesting that the company knows a thing or two about the subject, obviously. And also in terms of Starship capabilities, he noted that Starship is capable of making life sustainably multiplanetary, providing planetary redundancy. In case of catastrophe on one planet. And he also reposted content stating that Starship should be able to lift 10 to 15 megawatts to the sun synchronous orbit per flight. And also, in terms of engineering difficulty, Elon mentioned that a fully reusable orbital rocket may be the hardest engineering problem of all time, and SpaceX is tackling it with the most talented group. And also, in terms of Starbase, Elon confirmed that Starbase, which was built on a sandbar near the Rio Grande, is a legally incorporated city with an inspirational name, which is going to be pretty cool to see, and I'm assuming the very long-term plan of this is, to actually build even more cities like Starbase, because, I mean, it's still developing, it's in its development stages, very, very early stages, but it's still going to be pretty cool to see once that actually is fully developed, and we can see, like, the real first Starbase city, like, how that's going to work, what's different, what makes it better, stuff like that, obviously. And in terms of Starlink in India, he expressed anticipation for serving India with Starlink. And also, he reposted the announcement regarding NetJets equipped over 600 aircraft with Starlink by the end of 2026. And is going to equip 600 aircraft with Starlink by the end of 2026, which is pretty cool. If you don't know what NetJets is, by the way, a little background: it is a big private jet charter company. They have big bases in. They have a lot of bases pretty much all over America. Like they're based in all over America. Like if you have that one app, Flight Radar 24. This is not a sponsorship, obviously. But yeah, you can see NetJets flying around. It's an airline company. They don't build private jets, but they fly them. They do charters with them, and they have a lot of aircraft. They're the number one. I'm pretty sure. Correct me if I'm wrong. They're in the top 3 for sure, but they might be either 1 or 2. I don't exactly remember, but they're 1 or 2 in the charter jet industry in terms of in the United States. So yeah, that's gonna be pretty cool to see, obviously. So not just on the ground, not just to your phone that Starlink is going, it's also going directly to those planes, which is pretty cool to see. Sorry for that long rant. Anyway, in response to the narrative competing with Jeff Bezos's Blue Origin, he laughed at the comparison and affirmed that Blue Origin is not neck and neck with SpaceX, and there's quite a bit of evidence to prove that. So yeah. Anyway, that pretty much wraps up that. Again, usually more. I mean, even though that's not that much, there's still more on SpaceX than we usually get if you guys are a long watcher of this series or returning person. But anyway, moving on with AI, Grok, and XAI, obviously, as we do every episode. In terms of Grok versus Opus, or Opus, I'm not exactly sure how to perfectly pronounce that, but it's spelled OPUS. He gave credit to Anthropic AI, calling the Opus 4.5 outstanding and doing excellent work at pre-training level. However, he asserted that Grok wins when applied to logic, noting that the Tesla chip design team prefers Grok to Opus. And also in terms of Grokopedia, he promoted Grokopedia.com, an alternative Wikipedia that he created because he felt Wikipedia was too woke. And he mentioned that users can use Grok to help them understand topics more deeply using Grokopedia. So that's pretty cool. And also in terms of X's algorithm goals, he shared a goal for the new Grok-powered X algorithm, which is to recommend content so that the users see interesting content from accounts they have never encountered before. The acid test is whether content is posted by a new user with no followers, if intrinsically excellent, gets seen by more people. And also in terms of the XAI team and vibe, he reposted content about the maniacal speed and efficiency of building data centers, saying XAI headquarters has a great vibe, and he called the XAI Memphis team a major asset to the company and expressed love for Christmas after the team volunteered at a food bank, which is great to see, obviously, the support there. Obviously not really much selfishness there. And in terms of he reacted with wow to news that the AI bubble is causing RAM prices to rise to the point that Samsung won't sell it to Samsung Electronics. And in terms of AGI and ethnics, he reposted content arguing that fostering intrinsic, my God, I can't talk today. Honestly, and aligning with human values is a more realistic path for AGI coexistence than improvising Asimov 3 laws, which often fail in practice. And in terms of Grok going viral, he reposted with cool to Grok going viral on TikTok for its response to the trolley problem, which I've personally seen myself. I can assure you that I'm one of those people. that are part of that whole thing, because that is really cool seeing that people have been making edits about it and stuff. It's really cool to see. But yeah, moving on, we're going to talk about politics, culture, and more social stuff. So pretty much wrapping up that stuff. More about the EU in a little bit, in a couple minutes here, once we get through this. But yeah. So starting off in terms of immigration and stuff like that, Elon claimed that there are massive transfer payments going to illegal immigrants, essentially paying people to come to the U.S. He stated that people are being flown in and fast-tracked to citizenship, making them beholden to government payments and leading them to vote hard left, which is characterized as voter importation. And in terms of Ilhan Omar, he stated that the Representative Ilhan Omar is a traitor for calling on Democrats to end ICE funding. He also reposted a clip of her saying that the U.S. Government will only do what Somalians in the U.S. tell them what to do, and which he said sounds like treason, and confirmed that she is a traitor to America. And in terms of racism and white guilt, Elon talked about and agreed that redefining racism to exclude one race so you can be racist against them is peak racism, and both racist and hypocritical. He agreed that white guilt is a scope weapon designed to accelerate the extinction of Western civilization. And in terms of white race decline, which we talked about on the last few episodes as well, he agreed with the analogy comparing the decline of the white race in the UK to the elves in Lord of the Rings. And in terms of history, a little bit on history here, he promoted history education, to clarify that. Elon promoted a book in response to his query about why a false history of slavery, which we've also talked about the last few episodes, is taught in American schools, calling it a great book. He reposted a question asking why schools aren't taught about slavery in the Ottoman slavery in the Ottoman Empire, where millions of slaves were Europeans, and how Europeans stopped it. And in terms of justice system reform, in response to a child killer being released early, calling the system horrific, and stated that that major reform is needed. And in terms of gender and benefits, which is kind of a new thing here, he reacted with a clown world and clown emoji to news of a male Spanish soldiers self-identifying as women to gain increased salary and better benefits. That's just weird, honestly. And in terms of political figures here, he confirmed that President Trump is very funny and has a great sense of humor. And he also said that Representative Sarah Stalker, who stated she has guilt every day for being white and that kids should too, is an evil woman. And he called a Columbia PhD invited to Yale Medical School to present on killing white people a murderous psycho. And in terms of crime data, he affirmed that the DC police were 100% faking homicide data. And that pretty much wraps up there. More on X and the EU stuff, which, like I said and like I promised. So starting off in terms of X Money, he confirmed that X Money has been launched internally and is coming soon. And also, he agreed with the characterization of X as the loudest, most uncontrollable truth machine humanity has ever seen. And also in terms of the EU fine, obviously big topic here. Elon stated that the EU Commission decided upon the fine for X over its blue check system first, and then made up fake reasons afterwards. And in terms of free speech in Europe, he agreed that it is false to say Europeans vote in free and fair elections if Brussels bans parties or candidates that become too popular. And he also praised Phidias, a member of the European Parliament who fights for freedom of speech, calling him a good man who cares about the people. And if you don't know Phidias, he's a popular content creator. He has done YouTube videos and things like that, like your average YouTubers. Those back in the day, he tried to hug Elon Musk one time. He did a challenge like that. He's a great guy, honestly. You guys should check him out. This isn't really a shout out, but I guess it kind of is. But check him out. if you never heard of him. He's pretty cool. He's on X too. I'm aware. Anyway, in terms of Tesla and robotics, just a couple things here on Tesla. In terms of Waymo competition, which this is going to be a good one, he replied exactly to an argument favoring Tesla's approach, asserted that Waymo never really had a chance against Tesla, predicting that this will be obvious in hindsight. And in terms of robotics and labor, he agreed that the world is short of workers due to declining birth rates, and that the first use case of humanoid robots will be manufacturing. And also in terms of recalls, he reposted data showing that Ford was the most recalled automaker in the U.S. in 2025, while Tesla was one of the least, which is obviously great to see. And funny to see how Ford's struggling a little bit over there. But in terms of Neuralink, just a couple things here. In terms of leadership, he reposted the announcement that David McMullen, who previously worked for the FDA, will lead medical affairs starting later this month. And in terms of Blindsight, he reposted that their next product, Blindsight, built to restore vision, will begin trials next year, which I'd love to see that happen. That's honestly going to be very interesting. And in terms of more personal stuff and miscellaneous things, just the last little subsegment here, and then we'll wrap up the episode. In terms of AOC criticism, in response to AOC calling him a unengineer somehow and a billionaire con man, and he said she pretends to have a brain and it's not working. And also in terms of fashion and culture, he stated that it is time for a new look as fashion hasn't changed in 20 years, suggesting that people should dress in far more interesting ways than they currently do. And in terms of context switching, Elon said that context switching is the mind killer, not fear, and he tries to segment his days to avoid the enormous cognitive penalty of switching contexts frequently. And in terms of starting over, when asked what he would do if he started over with $1,000, he said that if civilization hadn't melted, he could probably just tell people to give me money, which he has done before. And in terms of background, he noted that he originally came from North America, Montreal, at age 17 with $2,500 in Canadian, with one bag of books and one bag of clothes. And in terms of food and movies, his favorite food is American food. And his favorite item is a cheeseburger. And he said Dodgeball is a great movie. So a little bit, again, more personal stuff. And in terms of birth rates, last but not least here, in response to an article about banning faith groups amid falling birth rates, Elon replied that either birth rates recover or entire nations will disappear. And that, ladies and gentlemen, basically wraps up CheckX episode 13. Thank you guys very much for watching. I appreciate the support. I've been flopping for the last few episodes, but you know what? We're still on the grind. It's whatever at this point. Maybe something will happen. Maybe it won't. That wraps up episode number 13. Thank you guys for watching. If you made it all the way through, I appreciate you for staying here. And I'll see you guys in CheckX episode 14, hopefully tomorrow. So, yeah, see you guys on Friday. And then we got the weekend. See ya.